Hey everyone, Sheriff here and welcome back to Fall Into Tech. In today's project, we are moving into one of the most important part of AWS networking, which is going to be monitoring what's happening inside your VPC. So today is project 7. We already finished project 6. And if you didn't have the chance to watch project 6, I advise you to go back in my channel and you'll be able to see the previous project that we built. So far we have built our VPCs, subnet, EC2 instance, route tables, network ACL, peering connection. And now it's time to actually see the traffic and understand exactly what's flowing in and out and learn how to troubleshoot in the right way. Okay, so in this project it's all about visibility, because we start testing connectivity, building multiple subnet or doing VPC pairing. Now when we talk about VPC monitoring, it is all about understanding how AWS keep track of the activities inside of your network. And now when you talk about VPC Flow Logs, it's just enabling like the logs that you have to capture inside of your VPC. For example, understanding like what you accept and what you're going to deny traffic from your VPC and your subnet and other network interfaces that you have. And now CloudWatch Logs Insights is just basically using powerful query to read and filter and also analyze your flow logs. So in this project, it's about visibility, because once we start testing connectivity, building multiple subnet or like doing VPC pairing, you need to have a way to be able to see what traffic is allowed, what is blocked and completely missing. So by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to turn like the raw flow logs that you have into like insight that help you monitor and secure and troubleshoot your AWS environment. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and jump right into our AWS console and we're gonna start this project.
Okay, as you guys can see, we have our diagram here. So we did have our public subnet, our VPC1 and VPC2. Inside of our VPC1, we have our public subnet right here. And then we have our public subnet into the second VPC, okay? And then inside of each VPC, we have a EC2 instance. We have EC2 instance 1 and then EC2 instance 2 right here. And we have the network ACLs right here and then route tables both in the side. And then now, as the project is growing, we have our internet gateways, 2 internet gateway right here. And then now we did create a VPC pairing, as you can see here. So now, so far what we have on today is the VPC flow and then the CloudWatch. So we add the CloudWatch and then the VPC flow, okay? So if you remember the last project, we did add the VPC pairing. So as we're going, we're always adding new features or new services that AWS provide. So now in this project today, which is project 7, if I remember well, so we did add the VPC Flow Logs and then the CloudWatch. All right, now let's go ahead and jump right into our AWS console and start the project.
All right, now that we are here in our AWS console, let's go ahead and then create our VPC and we're going to do the same routine. You can come here and then look for VPC or you can click here and you're going to have your VPC open here, okay? And now we are going to do the same process that we did on the last project, okay? So now you come here and click on create VPC and you want to choose VPC and more. And then now let's give it a name here. So it's going to be Fall Into Tech VPC1. And now let's change this one here. It's going to be 10.1.0/16 just to make sure that we have this is VPC1 and we're going to use the 10.1.06/16 just to make it easier to understand, okay? And then now here, no IPv6 side of block, we can leave it as is default right here. And then now here, we want to choose one availability zone right here. And then let me see, we can leave it at default. Number of public subnet 1 is fine, and the number of private subnet we're gonna choose 0 and none. We don't need the VPC endpoint. And then looks like we got everything ready. So we have the name, Fall Into Tech, one public, one VT zone, and then we have 1 public subnet, 0 private subnet. Okay, looks good. Let's go ahead and create our first VPC. And as you can see, our VPC is done. So that one was VPC1. Now let's go ahead and then create a second VPC, and we're gonna follow the same routine. VPC here, let's name it Fall Into Tech VPC2, and here let's change it to 2 again. You can choose whatever you want, and then see the zone public subnet, we need 1. one public subnet, 0 private subnet, and not gateway, we don't need it, and then VPC endpoint, we don't need it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and click on create. Okay, so now this is how we started. We need 2 VPC, and we already have, let's see, view VPC. There you go. Say your VPC. There you go. So now we have our 2 VPC. One is here and VPC 2 is here. And then now let's go ahead and move into the next steps. Now that we have 2 VPC running, which is Fall into Tech VPC 1 and Fall into Tech VPC 2, now it's time to launch 2 EC2 instances in each VPC. Remember, this project is about monitoring, right? So we need to create 2 EC2 instances that can communicate between them, and we need to monitor the communication that is going between those 2 EC2. Okay, so that's the reason why we need to create the EC2. So now to do that, we can go ahead and then create EC2. I may be going fast into these 6 steps, but we already built this one that started from day 1, from project 1. So now, we're just gonna go ahead and then just go through it real quick. And if you need more, understanding or whatever, you can go back to our previous project and you will see all the process. So now you come here, click on launch EC2 instance, and then give it a name. So name will be EC2 Fall into Tech 1. That's the name. And also here, make sure that you choose a free tier eligible. This one right here. So Amazon Linux, this one is free tier right here. And then now, also this one, we want to choose the instance type. We want to make sure that we're still with the free tier. Okay. And then the key pair, we don't need a key pair. Proceed without key pair. And then now here, we need to edit our network setting. Okay. So now, let's choose a VPC that we want this EC2 to stay on. So now it's going to be on into VPC 1. And then now we want also enable public IP, because the last project we did not enable this one and we had a problem when we were trying to do the VPC peering. Okay, so now let's choose that. And then now we need to create a security group. Okay, and then now the security group here, let's give it a name. Security group name is going to be FIT security group 1. And then now here we need to add a new rules. So we did allow the SSH. So now we want to use a second rule, which is going to be now here. Let's click on add security rule right here. And then the second one that we want to choose is custom allowed all ICMP IPv4. Okay, and then now the source we need to be for all IP addresses. Okay, so if you remember last project, we had some problem when we were trying to connect to the 2 VPCs, so we had to go back and add this rule. Okay, so now we have to add it here, which is all ICMP IPv4, and then the source is gonna be all IP addresses. So now looks like we got everything done, and then now we can go ahead and click on create launch EC2. Okay, what I'm missing here, source is going to be all also. Okay, we didn't need to touch that one, so let's go ahead, click on launch. And then as you can see, we have launched our first EC2 instance right here. And then now we can go ahead and then launch the second one, and it's going to be pretty much the same process. So it's going to be EC2 Fall into Tech 2. Okay, and then now again we want to stay with the free tier here, and then the instance is going to be free tier also. Key pair, we don't need any key pair. And then here we want to edit the network settings, and then we choose our VPC, which is going to be the second VPC, which is the VPC 2. And then now we want to enable the assign public IP, and then we want to create our security group, which is going to be going to Tech security group 2. Okay, and now we want to add a security rules here, which is going to be, let's see, custom. No, we don't need to touch down this one. Add a security rule here. Okay, hold on, mistake here. So this one right here. Okay, hold on, anywhere custom here, we don't need, this is the one that add rules. There you go. Okay, I know what I'm doing wrong here. So we already have this one. You're going to choose here and then allow all ICMP IPv4 here, and then the source is going to be from all IP addresses. And then now we have that one done, and then everything looks good. Let's go ahead and click launch our EC2. So now we have the second EC2 here. So we have the first one and the second one. Now let's go back into our, there you go. So we have EC2 1 and EC2 2 there right here, then all running. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move into the next step. All right, now that we have our 2 EC2 instance here, now the next step will be to set up our CloudWatch. Okay, and basically to do that is very simple. You come here and then you can type CloudWatch. There you go, this one right here. And this is going to be new for a lot of people, and it's my first time using Cloud. There you go. This is the interface that you will have. So basically, setting up a CloudWatch is basically, all it's about is just to kind of have a way to monitor the inbound and then outbound network traffic that coming in your VPC. So basically, we're going to set up a space where, we can store those data. And then to be able to analyze those data, that's the reason why we're setting up the CloudWatch, okay? So now from here, what we need to do is click on log groups right here. And as you are here, what you want to do first is you need to create a new log, okay? So this one is going to be a group log. It's different than the log itself, but you want to go ahead and create a group log. So now you come here and then click on create group log. And as you have here the name, you can give it any name that you want, but mine is going to be Fall Into Tech Logs Group, okay? And then we can set it up as never expire. Let's see, never expire is fine. And then also the standard, we can leave as it is. We don't have to create any key for here. And then now we can go ahead and then click on create, okay? Again, you set a name, which is going to be Fall Into Tech Flow Logs Group, never expire, and then standard here. And then the key, RN, you don't have to touch, you can leave it as it is. And then now click on create. There you go. Now we have our Fall Into Tech Flow Log group right here. Okay, so now let me just kind of explain exactly what is basically a log, a group log, and then a log. Okay, there is a big difference between them, and also we never talk about it. It is new to me, so let's go ahead and then I'm gonna explain exactly what it is. Okay, so as we have the flow log groups right here, you need to understand what is a log group. So a log group is basically a CloudWatch. It's like a folder that stores related log together. So basically, if you have a different log, this is the folder that's gonna store them. Okay, so when you enable a VPC Flow Logs, is basically ask AWS where to send them. Basically, AWS will use this folder right here to send the logs right here, okay? And usually we send them into CloudWatch log group right here. That's what I just explained. So basically that's what you do. You create a log groups where the logs that you have, they use this folder right here to send those logs, okay? So a log group is a main folder. And then when you talk about some other tools as like Logstream, it's going to be like a subfolder of the log group, and then we have logs. So the logs is basically the actual messages or the traffic record that come from your VPC that you have, all those traffic, that all the information is coming from the log, and then that log will get those information and send them into the log group. So basically that's the kind of explanation of what is a log group. Okay, now in terms of log, it is very simple. So it's line of a record of data. So it's just basically the data that come from, your source, like the IP, and then like going through another destination, another IP, and also the information coming from your port, like the protocol, what was accepted, what was rejected, and then how many bytes was transferred, and the time spent also. So those logs basically let you see what traffic is, like what kind of traffic is flowing inside of your VPC, and what is getting blocked, an example of like, what we have today, what kind of ping that we have, all this information, okay? So basically it's like gonna show you like who reached out to your VPC, and what your network, like ACL, what did you block, and also what kind of security group configuration you have. So those are the different information that, the logs will handle those, okay? And now in this project, it's very important that we learn about the logs and the log group because it's new to me, and then I was able to use it in this project. So I'm it's very helpful to understand exactly, these different AWS services. And today I'm glad that we discussed about the log and then the log group. So if you need more information or more learning, you can go ahead and then jump right into either wherever you want to learn, and then learn more about the logs group and understand them, how it works, okay? Now that we have our log groups, let's go ahead and create a logs, okay? But to create the log, what you want to do here, you want to go back to your VPC because we want to associate that VPC with a log that we're going to create because we already created the log group. So now we want to go back into our VPC and then click on your VPC. And then now you want to select your first VPC right here. So when you click your first VPC, you will see that actually it gave us different logs here. It gave us like the log option here, So now the log option, it doesn't have anything because we didn't create any logs yet, but we did create the logs group, but we didn't create any log here. So to create the log, you need to come here into your VPC and then select the VPC And as you select the VPC, now you want to go ahead and create a flow log. Okay, now what we want to do from here, we want to come here where it say create logs. Make sure that you guys can see it here. There you go, here where it say create logs here. That's where you want to click, and then click on create logs. And then now you want to give it a name. Okay, so you can choose any name that you want, but let me see what I'm gonna name. Mine will be Fall Into Tech Flow Log. Okay, let me just Flow Log. And then here, when it comes to the filter, you want to accept all. Okay, so we just want to leave it as all. And then maximum aggregation interval is gonna be 1 minute. Let's leave it 1 minute. So basically, it's kind of understand the maximum interval of a time during which a flow of packets is captured and aggregated into a flow log record. So basically, we do not want to choose 10 minutes, which is going to be long. Let's just choose 1 minute, where every 1 minute we can have record coming from like the info that we need. Okay, so we're gonna leave it as 1 minute. And then also the destination will be send it to our CloudWatch log. The log that we created just now, the group logs that we created, that's where we want to send it. That's why you want to choose send it to CloudWatch logs. Okay, and then now here we can go ahead and then choose, as you know, is right here. So this is because we did select send to CloudWatch logs, and then now this is the one that we found, which is the one that we already set up, which is the Fall Into Tech Flow log group that we set up. Okay, and then here as service access, we can, let me see, use an existing service role, create a new service role. Let's see. Okay, as you can see here, we're missing the IAM role that has permission to publish to the Amazon CloudWatch log group. Okay, so we don't have that role here. It means we need to go ahead and then create the IAM role and then the IAM policy. So I'm guessing we need to create the IAM policy first and then create the roles and then come here, attach that role from here. Because as you can see, when we choose here, we don't find the one that we will be needing. You know, this is just the default that we have. Okay, now let's go ahead and then go into our IAM console and then create a policy, create a role, and then when we come back here, we can attach that one here. Okay, so now I'm gonna leave this one as it is right now, and then I'm gonna open another browser, and then now this browser I want to go back to the default. Let me go back to here and then click on IAM right here, and we need to create a policy. Okay, as we here, let's go ahead where it says policy, click on policy right here, and then now as we are here in policy, we don't have any policy that we need here. We want to create our own policy. Now what we want to do, we want to come here and then click on create policy, and as you can see here, we need to give it as a JSON, you know, it's going to be like a JSON policy. Okay, so we don't need this one right here, but there will be a policy that we need. Let me copy and bring it here. Okay, so now this is the JSON policy that we need, and basically it gives you the version of the policy and then the statements right here, and then the effect is going to be allow, and what action are we allowing, which is going to be create a log group, create a log stream, put logs event, and then describe logs group, and also describe logs streams. That's the policy that we're creating right here. Okay, and I think the beginning of my project there is one that I can explain exactly this JSON policy and what it is. So basically you can find that. And also if you don't understand exactly the JSON policy, just take the time to do some research and learn about it. And that's how I end up understanding exactly the JSON policy, how it works. Okay, so now we have our JSON policy here. What you want to do here, we want to go and then click next, and as you have next, so it's going to ask you to give a name. Okay, and my name will be Fall Into Tech Flow Logs Policy, and that's going to be the name. Okay, and basically that's the only thing that we need. We don't need to give any description or anything else, so we can go ahead and then just click create policy. Okay, now that we already create our policy, let's make sure that we have our policy here, and there you go, we have our policy here. And then now if we go back here, we did not talk nothing about policy, we were talking about role, right? But before you be able to have the role here, let me move a little bit here so you guys can see. Okay, so before you talk about the role here, you want to make sure to have a policy. Before you talk about the role, you want to make sure that the policy is set up first, right? So now let's go back here into our policy. We know that the policy exists because we already built it. So now what you want to do, you want to go ahead and create the roles. Okay, so now you want to click on roles, and then now here you go. Okay, So now it's better. All right. So now here, what we want to do next is we want to create a role. So go ahead and click on create role. And now we don't need to choose any other roles that we have. We're going to custom one role. So what you want to do, you want to come here, click on custom. And as you can see, they already give you like a default JSON policy that you have here that we need to adjust a little bit. We don't need this one right here. So I will be definitely providing this policy into the description for you guys. If whoever need it can have it from there, or maybe from my Medium account. And also I will keep my Medium account on description of this video. So when you're done, if you need the policy, you can find it from there. Okay. So but let me bring in not the default, but the custom one that we will be using for this role. Okay, so basically here what we want to do is, this is the principle that we need. Let's just take this off right here and paste the custom one that we need. There you go. This is the custom one that we need. There you go. So it's gonna be VPC Flow Logs. And okay, looks like we got it right. Let me make sure that it's correct. So this is the custom policy that we needed. Okay, so this is the policy that we need right here, and I will put this in the description or on the Medium account, on the Medium article, so you guys have it there. So this is the custom policy that we need. So this custom policy is only for the role that we created, you know what I mean? So just remember that, okay? So now we can go ahead and then click on next. And now we already created here, okay? So now what we need to do is to give a permission to the role that we created. That's what we need to do from here. Okay, so now what we need to do here from here is to find the policy that we created earlier, which is this one. So we want to select it and then click on next. Okay, so now when you click next here, we have to give it a name. And as you can see, this is the policy that we just created. And now we just need to give it a name. And then now when you give it a name, we can create that role right here. So when you create the role, when you go back to, I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to just make it pretty simple, not like complicated. So let me just give it a name, and the name can be Fall Into Tech VPC Flow Log Role. Okay, so that's going to be the name that I would choose. And as you can see, this is the permission, the policy that we did attach into it. Okay, so let's just double check. I don't think we need a description for this. All right, so now we can go ahead and click on create role. Okay, and let's click that and just give it a time. There you go. We have the role right here. As you can see, Fall Into Tech VPC Flow Log roles. Okay, so now that one is done. Now we can go back into our service role right here. We can refresh and we should be able to see. There you go. It's right here. So this is what we needed. So this is the one that we just created. So you can go ahead and then choose that one, and everything looks good. And we can go ahead and then click on create flow logs. Okay, so we did create our flow log. So now let's go ahead and then move into next step. But before moving to next step, this is very big. You understand exactly how IAM role works and how to create roles, and also how to add permission to those policies. So we were able to get that done. So let's move into the next step. All right, so now the next step will be to test our VPC pairing, as that's what we did into our last project, which was project 6. Now to get the flow log that we need, we need to generate some network traffic and see whether our flow logs can pick up on them, right? And that's the whole reason why we're setting up this project right here, just to kind of pick up exactly the logs that it's going to send, right? So we're trying to generate those traffic by trying to get into our instance VPC1 to send a message to our instance VPC2. That's the next step that what we're going to do right here. So now since that, we did try to our instance to talk to each other last time, so now everything should work fine. Let's go ahead and then jump into our EC2 right here. When you come back here, you can go and then click EC2, and as you are here, let's go to instance right here. So we have 2 of them. Now let's select one, the first one, which is the EC2 one, and then let's go to connect, and let's click on connect here. Like connect here. Okay, so now we already connected here. Okay, so now the next step would be to go back into our EC2 here, select the second one, and then we need the IP address. Okay, you are trying to take the EC2 one to ping EC2. So now to do that, you come back to EC2 and then you select, and it will give you the IP address, and then you click copy the IP address and go back to the inside the terminal. here and then post it here. Now before you post, you need to send the command ping. There you go. And then see. So you see it is sending the data, but we are not receiving anything back. So let's try to double check, make sure that, to understand why we're not receiving anything back here. Okay, so now we know that this ping is not working because we're trying to ping the private one. So let's stop this one right here and let's go back and then try to ping the private one. Okay, so this is the EC2. So instead of using, this is the one that we were trying to ping, which is the private. So now let's try to ping public one. Okay, so now when we come back here, let's do ping and then let's post this is the private one. Let's see, okay, let me just double check 315. Okay, let's try to ping this one. There you go. So we have connection, so it is communicating with the other one. So now when we try to ping the private one, it did not work. So when we switch it up and then ping the public one, it did work. Okay, so basically that's what we needed to kind of check, make sure that our private, one of our EC2 can talk to the other one. Okay, so we got that one done, and basically that's all we needed. So this step was about testing the peering connection between the EC2 and the EC2, and then now we know that they can communicate, not going through the private one, but using the public one that can communicate between them. So now it works perfect. So now let's move into the next step. But before moving to the next step, it's very important to understand what does ping mean. So ping is basically a network tool that we use to check whether your computer can communicate with another computer or devices on a network. So that's why we use the command ping. Okay, now when you do it, you write ping and then use the other IP address of the other platform or the other machine, and then it will definitely come back. Okay, all right, so now let's go ahead and then stop this ping here and then move into the next step. All right, let me clear the terminal here. Okay, now that we are here, we already test the private connection, it did not work, and then we did test the public one, it did work. Okay, now let's try to figure out why the private is not working right now. So now we want to select our EC2 one, and then when you select the EC2 one, click on connect and everything looks good. Let's go ahead, click on connect here, and now it opened the terminal. Okay, so now let's just give it a time. The terminal is open, right? Let's ping Google, make sure that we still have connection. Ping Google. There you go. Now the Google is working, right? Let's stop that. Let's clear the terminal here. Now let's go ahead and then ping our EC2 number 2. Now let's check the private here. We want to copy the private IP and then come back here into our terminal and let's do ping post. Let's paste here the private IP that we have. Click enter. So as you can see here, we have data coming out, going out, but it's not, we have no response. Okay, so now let's stop this ping right here. Let's clear the terminal and now let's go back here and then see exactly what's going on. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to go back to our VPC and let's click on our VPC. So we have two VPC here, VPC1 and VPC2. Okay, so now let's check our subnet, make sure that we have all the public subnet 1. Let's go to route table. So we have our route table here. So now we are missing one thing that we did the last project, which is like create the peering connection. So the peering connection, it helps us for data to leave one VPC, you go to the second VPC. Until that peering connection exists, the VPC1, anything coming from VPC1 will not go to VPC2. If you remember, the peering connection, it was a tunnel that we use, where the connection can go all the way to VPC2. Okay, so now we need to create that connection. So, and to create that, we want to go ahead and then click on peering connection. So now here, when you come to peering connection, you want to go ahead and click on create peering connection, and we can give it a name. And the name, let me see, I have my note here. So the name will be VPC1. Let's see, VPC2. Okay, so now here it's leaving, the request is coming from VPC1 and then it is going all the way to our VPC2. There you go. So now this is all we need from here, and then now we want to go ahead and click on create peering connection, and we did work into this process into our last project. Okay, and if you have any question, you can go back to our last project to see exactly how we create this VPC peering. Now when you set up the VPC peering, you will receive this message right here that said VPC1 VPC2 has been requested. So now what you want to do, as you can see, is pending acceptance here. You want to come here and then click action here and then click on accept, and there you go. This is the request that you need. Click on accept here. So now we did have our VPC peering connection running. Okay, so now our next step is to modify the route table that we have. Okay, now that we have set up our peering connection, it's time to go back and then edit our route tables. Okay, and to do that, you go back where is a route table right here, and then as you can see, we have two route table, our public, the fall into tech route table, public 1, and then the 2. Now let's start with the 1. So you click on 1 here, and then you go where it said route table, and as you can see here, we want to edit the route table, and to edit the route table, we want a route table here, and then here the address, the IP that we want to add is the one from VPC2, right? So it's going to be 10.2.0.0/16. That's what we want to add there. And then here we want to add our peering connection that we created. This peering connection that we created. Okay, so now with that, let's see, connection, okay, which is this one that we created, VPC. Okay, so now let's go ahead and then save changes. That one is done. Now let's go back to route table, and we do the same thing for the second public route table that we have. Go to route tables, click on edit, and then now let's add the IP of the first VPC that we have. So it's going to be 10.0.0/16. Okay, all right, and then now let's go here, click on peering connection, because we already created a peering connection. Okay, so now this is our peering connection here, and then now let's click on save changes. So now we did create that tunnel that will take connection from VPC1 to VPC2. Okay, so now we should be able to ping our private VPC, our private EC2, and it should work. And now to test that, let's go back here and let's go click ping. Now let's go back to our VPC EC2 here, and let's take the private EC2 IP. Okay, so let's see, EC2, the private one, copy private, this one right here. Now let's go back here, and we should be able to ping this private without a problem. Let's see, now it should work. Boom, there you go. Now it's working. So this is what we needed. So now with the setting that we did was we were able to create a peering connection, and that peering connection is the way that data can leave VPC1, go to VPC2 via peering connection. Now the connection can go through the peering connection instead of going public through the public. And when that one was done, we were able to go back and then ping our private IP, and now it works perfectly. All right, now this step is done. Now we were able to ping the public one and then ping the private one. Now let's move forward into the next step. So we are here in the last part of this project, which is going to be the VPC Flow Logs. Okay, to check your VPC Flow Log, you want to come here and then type CloudWatch. Okay, that's the one that we did. Click on that one here, and as we are in this Windows right here, you want to go ahead and click where it says log groups, and then as you can see, this is the log group that we configured early on. So you want to select this one and then click on it, and now here it will give you this page where it will give you all the log details. So now you want to click again here, and there you go. As you can see, it gives you like a lot of information about the event that happened. As you can see, log event. Okay, and as you can see, you have a lot of information about when the log happened and all the information that you need to understand exactly. But before anything, let's try to understand what is a VPC log. So VPC Flow Log are basically a secure like a camera for your network. You know, it basically filter, or it basically see the traffic that is going in and out of your AWS. Okay, so they capture information about every accepted or every rejected connection between resources inside your VPC. So anytime an EC2 instance try to talk to another instance, a database like internet or anything else, the flow log record it. It show exactly what happened, what you were trying to do. Okay, so flow log basically you can use it to troubleshoot connectivity, to see if traffic is being blocked, or if by a security group or ACL. For example, if something you have an error, you can look cloud logs. You can use cloud log to understand exactly what's going on. And also you can use it to track suspicious activity, see who's having access to your platform or what's going on. And also you can use it to understand which port and which protocol are being used. Okay, so flow log basically remove the guesswork, and then instead of asking why is my instance not connecting, you can actually see what happened exactly in live. Okay, and as you can see, this is the event that we have. We have the rejected and then the accepted. Okay, We have all the information here when it comes to CloudLog. And if you want to have more information about it, you can definitely do more learning inside of the cloud, inside of the VPC Flow Logs, okay? And as you can see, every Flow Log entry has multiple fields, and this field basically describe what happened with the network request. The most important are ones like that we can kind of mention here. It just gives you the source of the IP address, as you can see right here, the source of the IP, the destination of the IP, the port that was used, and then it was accepted or rejected right here, and how many data was transferred. Also, you can see the size of the data, how many data was recorded, and then also the time of the request, when it started and when it ended, okay? And also you can do a lot of learning about it to understand exactly all the events, all the information that you have in these logs right here. Okay, now let's go ahead and then click where you say Log Insights right here. So if you click here, so basically it gives you a field where you can do a query. And then when you do a query, you can just basically run the query right here. So instead of like running into like going through like thousands of records that you don't really need, you can basically write a query that will give you immediately the pattern that you have. For example, the top IP addresses, the top rejected connection, all SSH attempts, so you know which port did use and which traffic is failed. You know, it's so powerful. You can use any field you can use it here inside of the query. For example, here instead of giving us 10,000 line, let's go ahead and when you have 100 here, and then you can just click on run query. Or actually here you have to choose the criteria that you need. Okay, of course it's going to be our flow log that we set up. Okay, so click that and then just click run query. So when you run query here, it gives you the 100 logs. As you can see here, give you 100 logs right here, and it gives you all the information that you need, the timing, and then all the information. And then, for example, if you wanted to add a dashboard, you can create a dashboard. If you wanted to export the result, you can click here and export the result also. And if you wanted to do more investigation, you can click here and then do more investigation. And also, if you want to kind of summarize the result that you have, you can click here, do, and that will give you like a summary of exactly what you have. So this is basically the log insight that we have. And also this is just like the beginning of it. You can do a lot of research and then learn and have more information about this powerful tool that we have, which is the query right here. So instead of 100, let's use the 10. Okay, if you run the 10, it will give you only the 10 right here, the 10 logs that we have here. So that's basically what they use this query for. Okay, so basically this will end the project that we had, which was monitoring your source that you have inside of AWS. And then now I'm going to stop this video here, and I can't wait to see you guys into the next project. And thank you being here with me today.